Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the February edition of Starfleet News Service. I'm Captain Lynn Harper, and with me is Lieutenant Jess.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing, Jess?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. On today's episode, we're going to be featuring a special presentation from Starfleet Medical a little bit later, a tutorial on essential sewing tools, and a first-hand look at some recent conventions.
First, we're going to have a report from Starfleet Medical with Captain Lynn.
All right. Thank you very much, Jess. So we, as the newly appointed Surgeon General, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this little report. And also, I want to have a few things that I wanted to talk about that are going on in Starfleet Medical right now. So we have a publication called Starfleet Medical Hyperspray. And we also have a brand new editor, Deborah Keyes, and I would like to publicly say thank you, Deborah, for taking on this position. I know it is a huge undertaking, and I'm so thankful for all the time that you have put into the gathering of materials and stories, and it's going to be a great read. And so what I wanted to do is just talk a little bit about what you can expect to see in this coming edition of the Hyperspray. So the theme of our edition that's coming up is Star Trek Medical Innovations. And it's a little bit like this. Next slide, please. So this, I don't know how old any of you are that are watching, but I do remember having this phone. And I remember thinking, oh, look, I'm just like Captain Kirk with my little Motorola phone. And so it's in that vein that we started to think, what kind of theme would we like for these articles? Because each article in this Hyperspray explores a different representation of our beloved Star Trek in the world of current modern day medicine. And our ASGs our Assistant Surgeon Generals, were challenged to write about real world applications and the exciting world of medicine right now that seems to be taking its cue from science fiction. And so what we're doing is also included in this edition are two additional sections. So one is called The Continuing Story, which is actually part 4 of a story, a fan fiction story that is about a medical emergency. So if you'd like to read parts 1 to 3, they're actually available in past editions. And also there's a new section called On a Personal Note. So the slide that you're looking at right now, if you look, the tricorder, medical tricorder in Starfleet has actually, there are actually several incarnations of this technology. And so incredibly, this is being worked on. At the bottom of the screen, I think you can see the medical biobed. And there is a company that in 2020, they have been working on in Israel. It was a scientific research that came out on this new biobed technology. And it's quite remarkable what this technology is now able to do. And believe it or not, there's already something that is very similar to a hyperspray. And so it's called it's like a jet injector, but it's going to be the same type of technology. So we're there. We're coming up to being able to replicate things that were used in Starfleet. I mean, I'm not telling you there's going to be transporters anytime soon, but these types of things people are looking for and thinking about. I mean, there are things that you can do with just your cell phone that give you some of the same things that a tricorder will give you. So it's incredible. Thank you. So these are the two new sections that are going to be in the Hyperspray, On a Personal Note and The Continuing Story. So I'm just going to give you a look. I actually wrote this one. So this is actually the Bondar. This is a medical shuttle. And I would like to say too that if you have fan fiction that is medical, as a medical theme, and you'd like to have it included in an upcoming Hyperspray, please let us know. Deborah Keyes would be the person to contact, or you can actually contact me as well. So that under Surgeon General at sci-fi.org. And I would also like to publicly thank Fleet Captain Mark Logan and Captain Pippa Slack for all the life that they breathed into our auxiliary. And we feel, the staff and the ASGs, we feel that this is now our solemn duty to carry the torch and continue the momentum spearheaded by this incredibly dynamic duo. So we thank you so much for what you did, Mark and Pip. And now I have some very serious news. So I don't know if you've heard, but there is a potential triple upgrade. Actually found one of our pet fleet group, crew members found some, and there's a few. So if you have found tribbles, be very careful, don't feed them. And if you found any, please take pictures, and could you send us some pictures? That would be fantastic, so we know that it's under control. And we were wondering too, have you joined your region's ASG Starfleet Medical Facebook page? Every single region has one. Or have you checked us out on Discord? So we have, they're in this Starfleet business, the Starfleet International link on Discord. You can actually find us there. But for sure, you can find us on Facebook and join us there too. There are so many little projects that are going on right now. So each region, last year there was a fleet-wide Starfleet Medical Challenge, but this year we've decided to break it down into regions. However, if your region is not running a STEP challenge, please let us know, and we will hook you up with a region who will include you in their STEP challenges, because there are STEP challenges happening in all regions across Starfleet. There's also several academy challenges that are happening right now. There is the Men of Starfleet Medical going on. You can join that one. It is you can find the links on the Starfleet Medical Facebook page, and you can also find it in Discord. And so there's a different course featuring a different Starfleet medical officer each month. Or each week, excuse me. And we would invite you to join us at Starfleet Medical. There's lots to do. And if your region doesn't have an ASG, please let us know, because we're looking to fill a couple of spots. We also have Deputy Assistant Surgeon General spots available as well. So that would be really great. If you would like to join us, please let us know. You can send us a message, or you can send me an email directly. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for all that amazing information about what's going on at Starfleet Medical.
You're welcome.
So next, we're going to be welcoming Bran Simpson to talk about the new changes to membership services. So hi, Bran. Welcome to the show.
Hi there. Sorry about that. How are we doing today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
Doing all right. It's been a busy morning, to be honest. So all sorts of fun stuff.
Hey, fun busy is the good kind of busy.
Definitely busy.
So I wanted to ask you, could you talk about some of the recent changes to membership services and introduce us to some of its new features?
Well, I'll tell you, we've kind of really redesigned the entire department from going from just being itself into an EC department. There are 7 separate directors underneath me. We have onboarding and orientation, volunteer resources, which used to be humanoid resources. We have recruitment, retention, and recognition. And all those we're working to get off the ground. Recognition is perfectly great. Kelly and her team are out there doing promotions, orders of merit, annual awards coming out soon. So keep an eye out for those for your regions, and all that fun stuff. It's just crazy how we change things to kind of be better to the membership and to serve them in a way that's much better than the way we were doing before. Not that how we were doing it before was bad. This is just like an increase and an improvement in what we were doing.
Right, absolutely. And I also heard that we have a much more evolved help desk now. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
We really changed the help desk. It's been kind of a revamp and a restyle. Instead of, like, I really think that we need to help the member first and give them the tools they need to do it themselves in the future. And also one of the big things that would happen is we had 10, 15, 20 people who had access to the database, who had different roles, comp ops and operations and all these guys. And some were great at handling tickets, and then some, because they were just so busy, would forget tickets. So there was no follow-up. You'd have a ticket sitting in there for 6 months to a week, to a year. So we've kind of changed that out. The idea now is that the help desk reps will be in charge of those tickets. They'll work with the department in like an escalation fashion, and then be constantly updating that ticket every couple of days to say, hey, we haven't forgotten about you. We're still working on this. This is kind of what the problem is. And moving forward, I'm getting our help desk admin, Chris, up to speed. We had some email issues, but he's getting up to speed. So hopefully by the end of the week, I'm hoping he'll actually be kind of handling a lot of the easy tickets. And then we'll work on an escalation matrix with the different EC departments to get those handled as needed.
Sounds like you have a fantastic plan to help run a tighter ship.
So definitely a fantastic plan. Let's hope it works right.
So given these recent changes with how the database permissions are assigned, what would the process be for requesting database permissions moving forward?
That's been a big change. I know we kind of run headlong into that wall at I don't know, warp 10, I think. But if you're missing, the best thing is if you're missing your database permissions that you're supposed to have, you're a CO and they got removed for some reason, you're an XO, or you're any department that needs them, like if you're an XO, have the CO submit saying, hey, this is my XO, they need this access. If you have additional officers on your chapter that need permission because they help you handle your chapter roster, or they look at academy stuff for you, or they're helping you out for one reason or another, just let us know that. We have no problem giving permission to those people that need it. That's not what we were trying to do. It's more the fact that we're just trying to handle how these things are working, and to make sure that A, they get assigned to the people they're supposed to, and then B, they're removed from the people that are supposed to. So there's a whole onboarding thing. So just submit that ticket to the help desk. Say, hey, my XO needs permissions, or this is my second officer, they help, or this is a person on my command staff or leadership board, they need these permissions. Or, you're working in an EC department and you need access to something, and for some reason it got removed, just give us a holler. We'll double check. We'll make sure it's right. And then we'll get it back to you as soon as we can. We're trying to work those as fast as possible so people can do their stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you for the thorough explanation. And I do hope you're going just slightly under warp 10. Otherwise, we're going to have some lizard babies on our hands.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how far we hit that wall, because that hurt pretty good. So.
Perfect. And so I understand that there are some opportunities in VR. Could you talk a little bit more about these and how they could fit into any schedule?
Oh, certainly. So the big change there is that humanoid resources became volunteer resources. We all volunteer for this organization, so let's make it a little bit more logical to our group. And John Bryce has been doing a fantastic job at HR, or VR as we call it now. And you can go over to the HR at SFI.org website. You may have to go to the link through the SFI site instead of directly. I know we're still having link issues. And there's opportunities in almost every department to help out. And if you don't see an opportunity there and you want to say, hey, I'm looking to help in the Corps of Engineers, or I want to help in Comp Ops because I know a lot about databases, hint, hint. We need a lot of people to help out with a lot of things. Reach out to John and say, hey, I'm looking for this, because there may be a way for him to talk to an EC member and be like, hey, we got more volunteers, or they just popped up. And scheduling is something that we really work with. I know, like with my team, we've had some people that are worried about scheduling, and I try to spread that out. We try to get to the stuff when we can. Help desk is one of those things that we try to get to as fast as possible, for instance. But sometimes it takes a few hours. We're at work, we're in meetings. So we try to work around our schedules and yours. And we know, so it's just one of those things. Everybody's willing to work with everybody if you're willing to volunteer. So if you want to give an hour a week, I'm sure there's something we can help out with Starfleet. If you want to give 10 hours a week, go for that. If unemployed and want to work all the time, I'm sure we have a job for that too. Hopefully you're not, though. But so there's always ways to volunteer with everybody. And it's fun stuff from pet fleet to hard work like Comp Ops. So there's everything in between.
Fantastic. Absolutely. And could you also discuss this new orientation process?
Well, that's a little more interesting. This is still in kind of the rough draft section. So what everybody thinks of as membership processing has very much changed. The CFO now has a payment processing team. They look at the database and the payments that come in and process those. And then we're getting off the ground a new onboarding team that are going to reach out by emails to give you your basic information, and then some more basic information about more stuff. So this is how you get in the database, or this is how the academy works, all that stuff. And then you're going to switch over to an actual Zoom orientation course that will be 2-3 times a month. We're hoping to get those scheduled. We're still working out the kinks and pains in that idea. And then you'll go through that orientation that hopefully will be added to your database record as an award or a course. And then hopefully that gets you guys involved. It'll one-on-one, kind of face-to-face as much as we can, explain the ins and outs of this organization to the new members, so they're not out there in the cold, if so to speak, and wondering, what the heck we do, or how they get help, or how they connect with the chapter, or how they get their emails, right, or how they get the new newsletter. It's, there's lots of stuff going on in Starfleet and lots of ways to get information, and we're just trying to make it as easy and best as possible to get it to the new members.
Absolutely. It's great to make sure that no crew member is left behind.
That's the plan.
Now, on a slightly lighter note, I heard that you also like the old Earth character of Godzilla. What would your favorite monster fight be?
Well, Godzilla has probably been in my life longer than actually, there's a big old fin pin right there. Actually, I just got the other day. But gosh, I would say the original Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla fights in the Toho movies and the originals in the 70s. Some of the new stuff is good. I don't have a problem with the new MonsterVerse that's come out, but Godzilla would probably be my second favorite franchise. And then you can see there's Transformer stuff all over the room too. So that would probably be the third one, but they're all in there, right?
Very cool. And I agree. The old 70s ones, I love the costuming work and seeing the behind the scenes of how they take the costumes off and the performers behind it. So that's probably my favorite part of it as someone who is into costuming.
I mean, it's definitely cool to think about the fact that, back then, these kaijus, as they're called now, were people in suits, not just, computer graphics. And while computer graphics are great and make movies awesome, look at Star Trek, but there's still something to be said for the modeling and the costuming and all that stuff that was put into those movies.
Absolutely. So now I'd love to see the Godzilla costume versus the Gorn costume.
Well, you talking about the Gorns, though, or the Gorns from Strange New Worlds? Like, what Gorns are you talking about? Because we only have 15 different kinds now.
The original one with the funny mask and the disco eyes.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for joining us on the news service.
Oh, no problem. Glad I could make it and get some answers. And as always, if anybody has questions, you can either submit a help desk ticket, and I work those as well as Chris, or, my email address, cms@sfi.org. I check that all the time if you got questions.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No problem. You guys have a great day now.
You as well. All right. So next, I'd like to talk about something going on in the Corps of Engineers, which has a very active costuming department, which includes Captain Jeremiah Estelle of the USS Cerberus in Region 10. He recently put together an amazing video detailing his essential sewing tools, which we'd like to share with you now.
Hello, welcome to our first video in Sewing 101 from the Starfleet International Corps of Engineers. The materials you see are what I use on a daily basis when I am creating uniforms and patches for the USS Cerberus. I'll start with my measurement tools. As you can see, this is a metal yardstick. It's 36 inches long, and I believe an inch wide. Let me double check. It is indeed. It is, pardon me, it is 1 1/8 of an inch wide. I purchased all of these measurement tools from my local sewing shop, and that is Fabricland here in Canada. My next measurement tool that I rely upon is my quilting ruler. This quilting ruler is 24 inches by 6.5 inches, and it is a fantastic tool. It gives me the ability to do multiple measurements on multiple pieces of cloth, and I'm able to do most lengths in one cut, depending upon the size of the cloth that I'm working with. This device here, this is a suction cup handle which goes directly on top of the quilting ruler, and that's for ease of moving it around. And I'll show you that now. The handle can fit anywhere on the quilting ruler, and it can give you perfect control for whenever you're doing a project. You simply press down, press on those toggles, and you can lift the quilting ruler with no problem, and you're able to use enough force to hold down the cloth so that as you're cutting or as you're marking, you're not having any of those lines move on you. I don't think any sewing room would be complete without the tape measure. This is a standard 60-inch tape measure. You can find them in various sizes, smaller or larger, but the general size tape measure that you will find is 60 inches. Let's talk about cutting. The tools you see here are what I use in every project. I'll start on the left-hand side, and these are my cloth shears. These are probably one of the most important and precious items that I have in my sewing arsenal. These shears never touch anything but cloth, and I think if there anyone else who sews out there, or if you're just new to sewing and you need a little direction on that sense, your cloth shears should never touch anything but cloth. When you do that or you use it on anything else, you're going to dull your blade, and any good cloth shears are an investment, so you want to protect that investment. This set of scissors here, this is more of a utility set. I'll use this set to cut interfacing, cotton, felt, general fabrics that are not going to be worn against the body. Again, this is just a smaller pair of scissors, a general utility scissor. And finally, out of the scissors, these are my thread snips. Now, you may be wondering, what about another set of thread snips? You may see them, they're quite small. I find that when I'm using them, and I think that there isn't a lot of control with them, and I have in the past actually nicked the fabric and caused a hole. And if there's one thing about uniforms, any deviation in style or mistake that you make, your customer or your friend that you're making this uniform for, they may not see it, but you'll always know it's there. So I go and I use a flat bladed scissor that's sharp, and I take care of all those threads. Finally, in my cutting arsenal, I have a rotary blade color, and this is a 45mm blade. You can find these honestly anywhere, be it a hardware store or an actual sewing shop. They're relatively inexpensive. You can sharpen the blades. There are materials out there that you can sharpen them. I'll be honest, I don't. I simply recycle them and put them in the metal recycler. So. And I use this often, and I use that in conjunction with my quilting ruler. Moving on to needles. We have various sizes of needles here, and I'm going to talk about each one. The first is a 10 gauge, 11 gauge, 12 gauge, and 14 gauge. Now, gauges of needles are the sizes of needles, and those represent the size of diameter and a little bit of a design difference in the needle. I'm not going to get into detail about that. I certainly can in a later video, because that is important information for you to have as you go forward. Now, these 3 boxes of needles are designed specifically for my sewing machine. It is a Janome, and I make the effort to purchase these because the right tool for the right product makes a great job. Now, there are people who will use different brands of needles. This box over here is from Schmetz, and there are many manufacturers of needles, and ultimately it comes down to personal preference. I'm also going to identify one other point. On here, these are a universal needle, which means they will work with most cloth, and they will give you a good return on your product. There are specific needles designed for specific cloth types. For example, denim, jersey, stretch, all of those materials have specific needles. Some of the smaller tools that you are going to use is a needle threader. I think this is a standard needle threader that we're all familiar with. This is another type of needle threader, and if you don't know it, I'll try to bring this into frame for you. If you can see, there's a small space in between here, and that is where your thread goes. And your needle would then press up against like that with the eye of the needle there. And as you push the needle backwards to it, that small piece of metal there will then push the thread through, and as you pop it out, your thread will then come through and you can pull that easily, and you now have your needle threaded. I use this often when I'm at my machine, when I have to thread quickly, and I'm able to just take a broken thread, put this through, and I'm back to the machine. No sewing kit would be complete without a stitch puller or thread cutter. If you don't have one of these in your sewing kit and you've never used one, I don't think you've ever been sewing. A little piece of personal protective equipment here. We have our thimble, and then of course this is for your thumb and your fingers to make sure that if you're working with heavy duty fabric, that you don't end up pushing a needle into your skin, because it can happen. The friendly sewing tomato, that's right. This is where all of your push pins are going to reside. I believe that this is in every single sewing room. It's in every single sewing case. I can remember being a little boy seeing these, and part of my first sewing course that I ever took was we had to make our own. And I'm glad I took that course, because the one that I made didn't last. The final piece of equipment that we have today is the bobbin holder. You can find these, again, in any sewing shop. They come in many different sizes. You're going to be able to find them in cases, or you have this rubberized ring here. I like the rubberized ring because I use hooks in my sewing room, and I can just put this on a hook, hangs on the wall, and I can easily grab it. So it works very well for me. And the colors that you see here, these are all the basic colors that I use whenever I'm sewing my Star Trek uniforms. That concludes the basic tools video for the Starfleet International Corps of Engineers Sewing 101. Thank you for your time. Should you have any questions, please contact me directly, Captain Jeremy Estelle of the USS Cerberus in Region 10. I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to seeing your sewing projects in the future.
So great. I know you're a big costume maker too. What did you think?
Oh, I love that. When I was first getting started in sewing, all that information I had to find from 8 or 9 different articles and videos. So I think it's really fantastic that we're putting this resource together for our members and anyone who wants to know.
I know, it's so good. I like that he was breaking it down into each little tool and explaining why it was important to have each one. Thank you. Like, Jeremy, thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Really, really good. So for our final segment, Jess and I would like to share our personal experiences with 2 separate conventions. So I'm going to speak first. I'm going to talk about, it was in Montreal. I'm in Montreal, Canada. So it was actually a mini-con. And it was held in January on the 20th and 29th. So I went with our ship has partnered with a CAG group in Montreal. And so what I'm going to show is just some photographs. Go ahead, Chris. So this would be my family, who was like part of my crew, and the family that trucks together, and also one of my beloved crew members. So that's Tamara. And so we had a great day. It was kind of good cop, bad cop, because I was the good cop and the Klingons were, well, you know, the Klingons. And so we spent time working we had a chair set up. And so we had lots of fun working with different people. Yes, here we are. And and my mom, there we are. So there's my mom. So I don't think my mom, okay, my mom's never been to a convention before. So it was just a little bit, here's my 83-year-old mom at a Star Trek convention. Yeah, there it is, holding a bat at some point during the day. So they say that the hypospray is mightier than the batleth, and here's proof. You see, we took out the Klingon here with one fell swoop, and then the god of mischief showed up with his tesseract, so that was always fun. Yeah. So, and it was the thing I love about Montreal Comic-Cons is that there's just a great camaraderie between the various people and the various groups and the various fandoms. So they show up and they interact with each other, and it's just really a lot of fun. And the furries are super big in Montreal. There's a huge furries convention that happens in Montreal, and they get together, they work on how to make their costumes, and they show up at the main con, which is in July, en masse, all together. And it's quite something to see some of this incredible work. Yes, here we are. So here we are planning to do together. We're going to be having a dual booth. So it's going to be Starfleet versus the Klingons in July. And so my counterpart in CAG is Dagor. And so these are some, I don't know if you know Montreal hockey, but this is the Canadiens logo. And this was actually featured on their webpage and on their Facebook page. So it was really cool that we got to be featured on their publicity following the convention. Yeah, so here's what I mean. Like there's every kind of fandom around, and they all wanted to be photographed, and they were like, oh, maybe next time we'll come in our Starfleet uniforms. Here we go. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. For me, I'm always like, how does the guy in the big costume eat? I don't know. And this fellow, he never broke character. He was in, and then there was Belle, who thought she'd like to hold a batleth, So, but power to her. So at the end of the con, we were, this is the organizer of Montreal Comic-Con, Scott. So he came over and just to finalize stuff. So if you were in Montreal in July, please come check out Comic-Con and our booth, which will be down at the other end of the convention hall. So as I said, it's July 14 to 16 in Montreal, beautiful Montreal, Canada. And it's a fantastic con to attend. And we're actually going to be, I was told we're going to be set up right across from the Star Wars people, the 501. And there's always great camaraderie there, because at the end of Minicon on a Saturday, we all went out to dinner together, all in costume. And there was great revelry in the evening, and yes, people thinking, what the heck is going on? Montreal is a great con city, and I have to say I've been to many in the last, I don't want to tell you how many years, and it's the people really that to me makes going to a con so great. People always, like my friends I'm a teacher at school, why do you go? Are you kidding? It's like Christmas. It's like Christmas, and everybody is happy, and everybody is like so interested in each other's costumes, and it's a lovely atmosphere. Thank you.
Looks like that was a fantastic event. And I fully agree that the best part of conventions is meeting up with old friends and making new ones, and just seeing all the amazing sights and people there.
Yeah.
Absolutely like Christmas.
Agreed.
So next, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a local to Florida convention I went to this past weekend called Sci-Fi Bartow. So this past weekend, we had a joint mission between the USS Russell Camp III, USS Haven, USS Andromeda, USS Amelia Earhart, and the USS Victorious to Sci-Fi Bartow. So it was 5 ships present, and we had a huge display. It was absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to share some pictures from that event. So here is our booth in the back and some of our Starfleet crew members. We have a wide variety of eras and costumes, and a few aliens showed up. Here's a closer look at our booth. We had everything from LCARS displays to Horgons and ship models. It was a ton of fun to show off, and also look at some of the other booths there. And we certainly had some strange visitors to our transporter room. I personally donned my lobes and assumed my alter ego of the Grand Nagus Auden, and we had some even stranger guests from a galaxy far, far away beam in, and that included the convention photographer and some kind of bootleg Borg queen. Not quite sure. There was an absolutely massive Star Trek present at the event, which was actually themed to Star Trek for the year for Sci-Fi Barto. So it's just absolutely fantastic to see so many Trekkies in one place. And here's some pictures of the beautiful downtown Barto, where there are plenty of Starfleet officers exploring this strange new historic world. And Klingon Assault Group also had a presence as our neighbors and perhaps even rivals. And this convention had vendors, panels, a petting zoo, and tons of photo opportunities. And here's the KAG panel, where some warriors are protecting the lore speaker. There's also a Starfleet panel at the event where we introduced our organization and played some Star Trek trivia with the crowd after presenting an ambassador to Starfleet from Sci-Fi Barto and ambassador to KAG from Earth Award to the convention showrunners. And a happy Klingon is a hydrated Klingon, so I was glad to be able to supply plenty of cool water at my Ferengi bar, which was a ton of fun. So it really was a fantastic event. I love that it had a street festival atmosphere. Anyone who wanted to come could. It was not ticketed. And just the whole community of Barto really came out to support the event and to kind of just see what was going on and enjoy all the sci-fi vendors and talk and see all the costumes. So it's just really fantastic to see the entire downtown transformed into a starship for a day.
That's fantastic. What great photos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we would also like to shout out to all of our Starfleet International members currently out on the Star Trek cruise this week that set sail yesterday, I believe.
Yeah. I would love to go on that one of these days. It's on my bucket list. It's on my bucket list for sure.
Absolutely.
Jess, want to get, so we have a few announcements and reminders. Jess, you want to take it?
Absolutely. So the Virtual International Conference is happening August 11th, 12th, and 13th. This will be hosted by the Starfleet Corps of Engineers. And we also have a TeePublic store with some merchandise. There you go. You can see some of the awesome shirt designs we have. And there's going to be a link to this store in the video description if anyone's curious in picking one up. And we're currently accepting volunteers in the planning of the VIC. So for more information, please email the Starfleet News Service. We have address as starfleetnewsservice@gmail.com.
One of my favorites of those shirts.
I love that one.
It's so cute. And I love this one. I couldn't decide, so I just bought a few. I don't know.
Well, one's a little more fun, one's a little more classy. So you wear one to the banquet and one to the after party.
Right, exactly. And so we'd also like to say congratulations and best of luck to Fleet Captain Erin Poole on her new appointment as Chief of Information Services. She's going to be leading a team along with Jaden Tyronian from Region 10, and that he'll be her deputy. And as a result, Erin has stepped down as Chief Engineer of the Corps of Engineers. And while she'll still be around, we will miss her enthusiasm and encouraging spirit in that role. So we're going to look forward to working with Stephen Hebenbach as acting chief of the Corps of Engineers. So thank you, Erin. I don't know if she has done so much work. It's crazy how much work, how many meetings she is attending, and how much work and care and energy and effort she puts into every project she takes on. It is just crazy. Oh, yes. And I would just like to say that the gentleman who put together the script is Chris. This would be the husband of Erin Poole, and he got her rank wrong because she's now a Commodore. There you are. So, Chris, you owe her a beer, or more than that, I think. There you go.
Without Commodore Erin, we would not be anywhere where we are with the Corps of Engineers, and it has been so much fun to be a part of it. So we all owe her a wealth of gratitude for all the time and effort that she has put into this organization.
Agreed. So that brings us to the end of our February edition of the Starfleet News Service. We'd like to thank all of you for watching. And you can catch us next time for the March edition of the news service on Sunday, March 26th at 3 p.m. EST.
Absolutely. We hope to see you there. And until then, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. Nice.